Well, hello, Scouts. It's Mr. Kugler. We're out around the fire pit, and I could barely find it today, but we got it nicely dug out. And today we're going to make a single-serving lunch. I like it as a lunch. You can make it as a dinner. That's going to use as our heat supply a stick stove. These little stick stoves are great tools to be able to use minimal amount of fuel. They put out a lot of heat, and they're great for these single serving meals. We're going to get a little crazy today, and we are going to have as our protein some of this jumbo calamari or squid, which comes in a garlic sauce. So I know the thought of calamari or squid may not be your cup of tea, so you're welcome to substitute in some canned clams. These are minced, or even some canned shrimp that you could substitute instead. And with the addition of some seasoning, you can also use some olive oil. And I'm prepared with some olive oil because I suspect that there's not enough oil within this little tin here for my meal. So I'm ready with that olive oil. We're going to use some quick cook noodles. Now these happen to be penne noodles. They also make these fast cook or rapid cook in Elbow. And what I've done is I've packaged out one portion or a quarter of a pound. I've measured it out, put it in a Ziploc bag, and because when you boil water for pasta, you like to have a little salt in it. And who wants to bring this big container of salt with you? Instead, I've added about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt in the bag with the pasta. The same holds true with the pasta. By portioning it out, I can leave the box of pasta at home and just have what I need for my meal. So let's get started by getting a fire going in our stick stove. So I can start with a crumpled piece of paper inside the stove. Take my grate off that I'm going to use to hold my pot. The great thing about cooking with sticks is even in conditions like this where there's snow on the ground, there tends to be nice dry sticks sticking above the ground that are nice and dead branches, not live branches, so they're nicely seasoned that you can use for kindling and fuel to be able to use your stick stove. Now, the diameter of your material doesn't need to be any bigger than your thumb, and you'll be amazed on how quickly and how hot this fire gets in this tiny little stove. So I'm going to start off with some very fine material on top of my paper. Then I'll move up with a little bit thicker material on top. Now I'll ignite the newspaper. It's important to make sure you have enough fuel on the ready so that you could feed your stove throughout the cooking process. So our first step in preparing our calamari over pasta lunch or dinner is to be able to boil up that pasta. So as I mentioned, we're going to use about a quarter of a pound of penne pasta, and we're going to use the rapid boil, so we don't have to worry about as much fuel and cooking as long. The directions say to bring the water to a boil, add the pasta, bring the water to a boil again, and then time it for 3 minutes. We're going to start with a quart of water, and that quart of water is going to go right in our 2-liter pot. But one thing that's very important about cooking over wood fire is that the smoke is going to coat the outside of your pot. So one of the tricks to use to be able to get that soot off of your pot afterwards is to take a paper towel with some dish soap and water and be able to wipe the outside of your pot. So in preparation for this, while I was at home, I took a piece of paper towel and put some dish soap and water on it and put it in this Ziploc bag. Now obviously I want to make sure I don't get it on the inside of the pot. It's important to keep adding fuel to your fire. So we'll start by adding our quart of water into our 2-quart pot. Nice thing about these Nalgene bottles is that I know exactly how much water, and I was prepared ahead of time with the quantity of water I needed for the pasta that I have ready to prepare. Put my lid on. Put some leather gloves on to protect myself. Put the grate on our stove. Now we can start a process of boiling our water. As the water comes up to temperature, I'll watch my fuel. If I need to, I can open up this little door and add more fuel. Certainly, if I'm worried about the weight or it's a little unstable, I can also remove the pot from the stove, lift up the grate, and add more fuel that way as well. So during the time of about 7 minutes, it brought us up to boiling water. I added fuel once through the side door by carefully protecting the upper portion to make sure to pot. I'm going to add a little extra fuel now before we add the pasta. So with my fuel added, I'll carefully remove the lid and add my pasta that already has the portioned out and also includes the salt that I need. With my pasta added, I'll give it a quick stir and then I'll put the lid back on. So our water has come to a boil. Unlike a gas or a propane stove, it's kind of hard to regulate the temperature in this. So you may have to leave the lid off. And I will set my timer for 3 minutes. So while my pasta is boiling, I'll keep an eye on it to help regulate the heat by lifting up the pot if I need to. I'm going to add our calamari and garlic sauce mixture to a cast iron skillet. Great thing about these cans of the garlic sauce and calamari is they come in cans that have this pull tab so that you don't need to worry about bringing a can opener with you. Going to pour off some of that oil so I don't make a mess. Carefully remove that. Take and spoon out all that nice calamari. And it's 3 minutes. Just got to check our pasta. A little al dente, which means it's still a little not quite soft, very soft. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the lid back on this pot, putting it off to the side while we work on our calamari. So it'll have a chance to get just to the right softness that you would like in your pasta. Going to add a little bit of fuel, but not a lot. I'm going to add just about a tablespoon of the olive oil that I have in a smaller bottle. Now the good thing is our calamari is already cooked. We could eat it cold right out of the can. So all we're trying to do is bring this up to temperature and bring that oil up to temperature so that it won't chill down our pasta and we'll have a nice warm meal. So our calamari is warmed up nicely. I'm going to take and put it on a towel here so I don't damage my box. Then what I'll do is I'm going to go off camera where I have a place to safely dispose of the boiling water that we used, or the water that we used to cook the pasta, so that we can add our calamari and oil. So our pasta is nicely drained. And I'm going to put, now I'm just going to add that calamari and the olive oil and the garlic sauce onto our pasta. We're just going to take and mix it all together. Wish you could smell this. It smells great. And a nice thing to add to our meal is some grated Parmesan cheese. What's nice about Parmesan cheese, especially when you're traveling, is that it doesn't need refrigeration to be able to travel. It's shelf stable, and even after you open it, you'll want to put it away when you get home, but it'll be okay when you're in camp. You can also sometimes in a different deli or maybe in a store that has takeout, they may have small packages that they may be willing to give you, a small package of Parmesan cheese that you could bring with you. Certainly you could take and portion out some of the Parmesan cheese into a Ziploc bag and have it so you don't have to bring the whole container. So I'm going to take and add some Parmesan cheese. Give that a little stir. And I'll give it the taste test. Delicious. One thing that you may not know about me, I could have calamari over pasta every day. So having the opportunity to have it in camp in a single serving meal is just one added benefit to camping. So here I have a single serving meal made with rapid cooked pasta, boiled over a stick stove. We packaged the pasta ahead of time with the salt that we needed right in the bag. We had the water pre-portioned out in an Nalgene bottle. Once we were done boiling our pasta, we took a cast iron skillet and a can of calamari in garlic sauce with a little extra olive oil. We brought that up to temperature. We drained the pasta. We added the calamari and the sauce along with the olive oil, and then we coated it with some Parmesan cheese. I hope this has inspired you to think outside the box a little bit on the type of dishes that you can do when you're camping, especially a single serving meal. I hope that you have an opportunity with your patrol and your troop to think about these different cooking methods as well as the different recipes. And most of all, I hope you get an opportunity to get out in the great outdoors and enjoy yourself.